Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video, Nintendo/gaming video for this week, for the week of July 23rd to the 29th. I hope all of you are trying to stay cool out there as much as possible. We are dealing with, unfortunately, is a heat wave and all, and out here in Southern California, we're kind of dealing with it as well. I'm doing what I can to keep myself as cool as much as possible while trying to keep my electric bill under control and all, but just do what you can to try to keep yourself as cool as you can. Drink a lot of water, try to keep yourself hydrated and cool despite the heat wave going on out there. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including sales reports that we have come out with for both the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. Basically, a report coming out to indicate that the sequel to Immortals Fenyx Rising may have been canceled. Reports coming out that Insomniac Games could be working on a brand new game. We're working on a 3rd game along with the Wolverine and Spider-Man one. And reports coming out about the possibility of a PS5 Pro and all. If you're interested in where I got the source of these informations, links will be in the description down below of this video. It's from me watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cent stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. So the first one is basically the fact that Forever Entertainment is hinting on the fact that they are working on another remake announced for 2023. No word on exactly what that remake may be. There have been some speculations back and forth. They have done several ones, like from the House of the Dead to basically Front Mission, so we'll see what exactly they might be working on. We also learned that Sega is considering bringing back some of their older IPs like Gunstar Hero and Alter Beast and all. This would be kind of interesting to see if they do bring some of these IPs back. I know that Gunstar Hero did get a sequel on the Game Boy Advance. I think it was called Advanced Gunstar Heroes and all. Alter Beast, on the other hand, I've seen there have been, outside of not really much entries outside of one for the Game Boy Advance, and I think one for the PS2 that was only released in Japan but never saw the light of day here in the West. So it will be interesting to see if Sega does bring these IPs back, and maybe this will open the door to other IPs making a comeback. Maybe Vector Man might make a comeback and all. I mean, there have been talks about the possibility of, Jet Set Radio coming back. So it'll be interesting to see what Sega decides to do. We also learned that High on Life is now available on PS5 and the PS4 though. I thought it was a good game, to be exact though. Very fun first-person shooter, a bit more linear based on my time with the game though, and the humor depends on it will be a hit and miss depending on whether you kind of like the humor that Rick and Morty is known for and all. But for those who don't have an Xbox Series system, it's now available on the PS5 and PS4. We also learned that Microsoft has now created the first ever Pizza Sense controller. That's right. For some reason, this has to do with the upcoming Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. It's sort of a promotion, and supposedly it's going to be your controller smelling like a pizza and everything like that. It's bizarre on so many levels. I just think it's just weird to see this odd promotion. Then again, we saw them do one for Barbie when that movie came out, though. From a Barbie controller to a Barbie Xbox Series S setup to even being able to drive Barbie's car in Forza Horizon 5. So this is just an odd promotion and all, at least how I'm seeing it to be exact. We also learning that Tencent has acquired a major shareholder in the studio Techland, the creators of the Dying Light series though. However, the Techland said that they will still maintain their independence and everything like that. They are still working on an action RPG fantasy setting, so there's been some controversy about the idea of Tencent, acquiring a lot of these studios and everything like that though, although some have spoken out saying that they still, do what they want to do and everything like that. So the response about Tencent buying another studio or acquiring another studio has certainly gotten some mixed response to this over the years and all. And finally, we are hearing reports of the possibility that the Red Dead remaster could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. This has to do with a leaker who spotted the Switch logo appearing up with other games as well, mostly due to the fact that there have been rumors that Rockstar is moving ahead with a remaster of the first Red Dead Redemption. No word on exactly whether or not it's a full-on remaster or just a port, to be exact, though. And no word on how, if it is coming to the Nintendo Switch, no word on how the Switch version is going to look and everything like that. I'm hoping this one is handled better than what we saw with the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. That did not go out very well and all for Rockstar in general. And in our movie and TV show part of the My Two Cent video, we did basically have two trailers that were shown this week. One was a new trailer for the upcoming Marvel movie, the sequel to the 2019 Captain Marvel, though. I'm very curious about this one. I'm going to be taking a look at this one. I thought Captain Marvel was good, though. It was more on the Phase 1 style of the MCU, but still enjoyable. And I did enjoy basically, Miss Marvel. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on the superhero approach. And I'm very interested to see about the third person who made their appearance in WandaVision and all, how that's going to play out in the Marvels and everything like that. Supposedly it's still heading its November release date, pending that we don't have the writer's strike and the whole actor strike, which is currently going on at this time, though. We also saw a new trailer for basically the upcoming Castlevania Nocturne, if I'm saying the name correctly. The new teaser trailer for the upcoming Netflix series, though. I am definitely looking forward to watching this. I enjoyed the Castlevania series on Netflix, and this is the next entry into the series, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this is. One thing to point out is that supposedly one of the producers or someone who worked on the original series, it's possible they may not be coming back. I don't know if this is true or not. Supposedly it has to do with some allegations being leveled at this individual or not, so it may or may not have an impact on the quality of the next entry in the Castlevania series, so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, though. Supposedly it will be out, I think, September 23rd. Apologize if I get the date wrong, but it's definitely one I am keeping an eye out for. We're also learning that supposedly Hollywood studios are looking at hiring jobs to handle, the AI and all, for basically, the whole issue surrounding the Hollywood strike and everything like that. Speaking of which, one of the writers, though, supposedly envisions that there could be a solution to this, though. Now, so far we haven't heard if they have come back to the negotiating tables or not, or anything like that, but hopefully this issue can be resolved. But I still stand with the writers and the actors on this one, mostly because as entertainment has evolved and as streaming become a new norm, it does think there needs to be some changes to the way how these executives at these studios handle. Plus, I do think AI is another issue that needs to be somewhat addressed to a certain degree, though. We're also learning that basically Barbieheimer Mania, whatever you like to call it, though, is still doing well for its first week, though, as the latest report from Deadlines has basically showed that basically the first week Barbie has ended with 258 million, with Oppenheimer handling at 127 million, though. So both those movies seem to be doing very well. To be exact, though, the big one is going to be, or the big question is Haunted Mansion, which is coming out around the same time Barbieheimer has been going on, and there have been questions of whether or not this will have any impact on basically, this movie. Right now, it's been reported that previously on Wednesday, they are reporting that it's made $3.1 million. Pre-sales indicate a start of a $30 million, but the big X factor is whether Barbie steals family business away, even though the theme park ride movie is gaining 200 PLF screens. They said the figure compared to Jungle Cruise, 2.7 million from Thursday, but also on Disney Plus, and Manifesta, Mistress of Evil, at 2.3 million pre-pandemic. Early post-tracking is smacking critics. Rotten Tomato grade at 40%, Rotten with 4 stars, and 79% positive last night. Picture skewed female at 57%, with 37% under 25. So it will be interesting to see how Haunted Mansion does. Maybe it'll do well, maybe it won't. We'll have to wait and see. We're also learning about, supposedly there's been questions going around Doom 2, whether or not, because of the writer strikes and all, whether that will have an impact or not. But at least according to the Direct, they are reporting that seems to indicate that they get a new release update. And right now, originally it was supposed to be slated for November 17th. Now it's being pushed to November 3rd. So if what basically... so if what the Direct is saying is true, it doesn't sound like the writer strike or anything is having a delay on the release of upcoming the sequel to the first Dune movie, Dune Part 2. And unfortunately, in sad news today, it has been reported that, or at least this was reported yesterday or on Wednesday or Thursday to be exact, was Sinead O'Connor has recently passed away, though. For those who may not be familiar, she was a singer back during, I think, the 90s and somewhat of the 80s, though. She did one song that's most famous is basically her, Nothing Compares to You, sort of a take on Prince's song, but she also earned controversy by basically premiering on an episode of SNL and ripping the picture of then Pope John Paul II, which garnished a huge amount of controversy, to be exact, though. So they're not saying what the cause of death is, but right now she has passed away basically at the age of 56, though. My heart goes out to not only the fans who may have enjoyed her music and all, but also any of her friends and family out there as well, too. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part and the movie TV part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with the PS5 Pro. Now, just like with the whole Nintendo Switch 2 situation, we've heard some rumors about the PlayStation 5 Pro for, I won't say long time, but enough time that there's been some back and forth of whether Sony is going to do one or not, to be exact, though. I've always kind of questioned whether we need a PS5 Pro or everything like that, considering where we are with now with like 4K and everything like that. But at least according to some of these reports, it seemed to indicate Sony might be pushing it for as early as say like November of 2024 next year, though. Now, the article in question has come from a site called Key to Gaming, which talked about it under the name Project Trinity. But a quick summary of it does come from the site Gaming Rant, and here's what they have to say, though. Quote, according to a report from Key to Gaming, the PS5 Pro console is codenamed Trinity, and it's actively been demoed for developers, with development kits being sent out by late November 2023. The report states that the PS5 Pro console will have a 30 WGP and 1800 MTS memory with constant FPS at 4K resolution and the ability to display 8K resolution. Their sources believe that this new PS5 console is currently planned for release in November 2024. Now, granted, there has been no official confirmation at this time from Sony. We haven't heard anything. They haven't said anything at this moment, though. Is it possible a PS5 Pro could technically happen? I would say it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. We have seen mid-gen refreshments before. We saw that with, the PS4 and everything like that. We even kind of saw that with the Xbox One to a certain degree. But Microsoft doesn't believe in one, saying that the closest thing would be, the Xbox Series X and everything like that. As far as whether I think they should do one, as I mentioned before, I'm not really sure. I'm happy with the PS5 I have right now. I'm not really big on the whole 4K, 8K. As impressive as that might be, I'm more of making sure to have a steady frame rate despite what's going on the screen and everything like that, though. So I'm not really sold on the idea of a mid-fresh generation or a new system. I mean, I didn't buy the PS4 Pro or anything when that came out. I just stuck with my regular PS4 that I had since launch and really didn't do anything with it. So I'm not really 100% sold on the idea of a PS5 Pro. I mean, there might be some folks out there that might be looking to the idea of buying it and everything like that. I am curious if it does exist, what the price might be, but I'm just not totally convinced at this time that a PS5 Pro is necessary. But again, like anything, it is a rumor, so we'll have to wait and see if this rumor turns out to be true or not. So overall, it's not out of the realm of possibility that a PS5 Pro or PS5 mid-fresh generation could happen. I personally, at least from my perspective, think it's somewhat unnecessary. At least that's how I'm looking at it, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with the possibility that Insomniac Games could be working on another game along with the Wolverine and the upcoming Spider-Man 2 game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Insomniac Games, and reports seem to indicate that they could be working on a third title and all. Now, when most people think of Insomniac Game, they think of, the games like the Ratchet & Clank series that they have been well known for. But they've also done other games, like the Resistance series, a series I would like to see make a comeback and everything, to basically, doing the Spider-Man games. They're also working on the Wolverine game and all. And they've produced some very good games for the PlayStation brand and the PlayStation system and all. And of course, they got purchased by Sony, which, was not a bad purchase, but nowhere near the level of like what we saw with Microsoft buying Bethesda, mostly because when you look at a lot of the games from Insomniac, a majority of those games have been on basically the PlayStation. So they've been, in a way, kind of like just basically a second-party studio for Sony, much like how Next Level Games, which will eventually get purchased by Nintendo, kind of became a second-party studio for Nintendo and everything like that. Well, there are reports seem to indicate that the possibility that Insomniac could be working on a third game, to be exact, along with the upcoming Spider-Man 2, a game I'm looking forward to picking up in October, along with Super Mario Wonders, and of course the Wolverine game, which we've yet to see any gameplay on that one, to be exact. In an article published by Video Game Chronicles, it is, according to them, it's saying that, quote, a recent resurfaced interview suggests it has an unannounced game. That's according to a live stream held by the Full Sail University last September, which is just now being circulated on social media. In the stream, project director Aaron Abhart, if I'm saying the name correctly, claimed that they were helming an unannounced project at the studio. Abhart previously worked on PlayStation Now at Sony Entertainment, as well as Blizzard's esports initiative. This is my first AAA game project now. I'm the project director here on an unannounced project. He said on the stream, I'm very excited to actually be making the game now. He joined Insomniac just before the studio began advertising for a multiplayer project. Obviously, they're working on they talk about the Marvel titles and all. They say outside of those franchises, Insomniac has also worked on 2014 Xbox exclusive Sunset Overdrive. In 2021, Sunset Overdrive was successfully registered by Sony at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Although the trademark registry isn't inactive of any plans to revive the game, it coincides closed with Sunset Overdrive director rejoining Insomniac the same year. So this project really could be anything. If it's a multiplayer project, It is. I don't know. I mean, could it be the possibility they could be reviving something like, say, the Resistance series or Sunset Overdrive? I mean, it is possible, or it could be just this multiplayer project that's been rumored. If it is, I am somewhat curious to see what this multiplayer project might be, though. It'll be interesting to see if it's maybe any of Sony's IP or a brand new IP, to be exact, though. But in either case, though, I am kind of curious to see what this third game they could be working on, though. If I had it my way, honestly, I would like for them to, like I said, revive, the Resistance series, Resistance Fall Man 2 and 3. I would like to see that series make a comeback. Or maybe a remaster or remake or even a sequel to Sunset Overdrive. That certainly would be nice if that was the game, though. But we'll find out at some point down the road. I'm hoping it's soon, but we'll have to wait and see. So overall, I'm kind of curious to hear this report that they're doing a third game along with Spider-Man 2 and the Wolverine game. What that third game might be at this time remains to be seen and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with, unfortunately, bad news for those who were fans of Immortals Fenyx Rising. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My Two Cent video, and this one has to do with, well, unfortunately, bad news for those who, or if this story is true, bad news for those who were fans of Immortals Fenyx Rising, though. Now, outside of doing, the constant Assassin's Creed or Tom Clancy type of game, though, there are times when Ubisoft might do, like, some of these smaller or other titles that normally don't get as much attention or get a huge amount of attention, but still finds an audience to a certain degree. Obviously, the Mario plus Rabbids is a good example of that, but we've also seen, with games like the Rayman series, we've also seen their take with, South Park, with Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole, and of course, the 2021 release, if that was when it came out, though, of Immortals Fenyx Rising, developed by the same folks who worked on the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, though. Immortals Fenyx Rising was sort of like, in a way, Ubisoft's take on Breath of the Wild at the time, as you could see some of the DNA of that game and all. Supposedly at the time the game did very well for Ubisoft, but now it seems as though, if the report from Video Game Chronicles is saying is true, it sounds like a sequel is not happening anytime soon, to be exact, though. In an article, again, from Video Game Chronicles, it reads that, quote, Ubisoft has canceled plans for a sequel to 2020's mythological open-world adventure game Immortals Fenyx Rising. That's according to multiple development sources who told VGC Chronicles anonymously that a follow-up game was early in development at Ubisoft Quebec, but the company's leadership ultimately decided to cancel it earlier this month due to perceived challenges around establishing the IP. The original Immortal, which was also developed by Assassin's Creed Odyssey Studio Ubisoft Quebec, received generally favorable reviews. Ubisoft's intention was to grow Immortals into a franchise, with journalist Jeff Grubbs reporting last year that it intends to explore different mythologies other than Greece, with full games such as Hawaii Polynesian myth. The original game, saw players on a quest to rescue the Greek gods. Later, the DLC explored Chinese mythology by having players take control of a new hero. Sources told VGC plans for Immortals were cast in doubt after the company decided to pivot towards its most prominent brands. In January, Ubisoft said it had canceled 3 unannounced games, not including the Immortal sequels, and was planning to strengthen its focus on its biggest IPs and live services following a weaker than expected software sales over the holiday season. This year, Mirage is one of the at least 6 Assassin's Creed games Ubisoft currently has in development, for example. And in May, the company announced plans to increase the number of staff working on the series by 40% over the coming years by reallocating staff from other franchises. Video Game Chronicle understands Immortals Fenyx Rising did find a modest audience, but a lot of it came via discounting, and it put into context, its sales in Europe was around 70% lower than what Assassin's Creed Valhalla managed to achieve over a similar time frame. If Ubisoft has decided not to continue with the series, it's not particularly surprising considering its stated strategy and game's modest sales performance though. Now, following the story though, an update was made to the article, and it says that, quote, Ubisoft has responded to the story and said it is relocating some creative teams and resources within the Quebec studios. As part of our global strategy, we are redirecting and relocating some, to other unannounced projects. The expertise and technology to these teams' development will serve as an accelerator for the development of these key projects focusing on our biggest brands. We have nothing further to share at this time. Now, if this rumor is true by any chance, if what Video Game Chronicles is reporting says it's true, I think it is a very big disappointment indeed, though, because up to this point, Ubisoft has been pretty much pushing, games that either follow, every game needs to be an open world, to basically being, a live service or DRM, the kind of situation. That's really unfortunate though, because I do like some of these smaller titles like Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, a game that I enjoyed, but I'm very disappointed that the game didn't perform well, although it depends on who you're asking, to be exact. But to see this with Immortals Fenyx Rising is, if true, disappointed, yet somehow they're willing to put money in Beyond Good and Evil 2 that we have really seen next to nothing about. Same with Skulls and Bones, which has not gotten, well, let's just say last time I checked, did not exactly get the best response out there. So if this is true, it is a very, very disappointing, because I thought Immortals Fenyx Rising was a fun game, and I would have liked to see them sort of expand upon that more, to be exact. But it sounds like that's unlikely to happen really anytime soon right now. So overall, I would say if this rumor about Immortals Fenyx Rising is true, I think it is very disappointed indeed, though. I would have loved to see a sequel actually happen, though. It's a little unfortunate that now Ubisoft is now just focusing only on just, their established brand, which is anything related to Tom Clancy and all, to basically the Assassin's Creed games, which can be good, but I do question some of the directions Ubisoft has gone with that series to a certain degree, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with sales numbers, or at least sales report that for the PS5 and the Xbox Series system. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the sales reports that seems to have come out for both the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. Now, this generation has kind of been sort of a little bit different than, say, what we saw in the previous generation, though, to a certain degree, to be exact, though. Last generation, between the Xbox One and the PS4, PS4 pretty much kind of dominated that over the Xbox One, mostly because of some of the decisions Microsoft made that didn't exactly help the situation, though. With this generation, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S, though, this one's been somewhat different to a certain degree, though. And while I will say the situation for Xbox is, let's just say, better than it was during the Xbox One era, that doesn't mean it is 100% perfect. And the latest sales reports seem to indicate that Microsoft still has its work cut out to a certain degree, though there is somewhat of a silver lining for them compared to where Sony is right now, though. In an article from IGN, it reports that, quote, excuse me, Xbox just reported its fourth quarter and full year's earnings for the period ending June 30th, 2023, which includes hardware revenue declining year over year of 13%. And while steady decline may seem expected enough for a console almost 3 years into its life cycle, its competitor Sony has recently been enjoying its best PlayStation sales yet. Though Microsoft's earnings are typically light on details, and these are no exception. The company reported an overall increase in gaming revenue for the quarter of $36 million, driven by a 5% growth in Xbox content and services, especially third-party content and Game Pass. This was offset by a 13% year-over-year decline in hardware revenue, which Xbox pointed out was simply due to low volume of consoles being sold than this time last year. We don't have a clear picture of how Xbox hardware revenue over the last year compared to the years prior, nor has Microsoft released numbers on exactly how many Xbox units it sold so far. But after a surge in sales last year, thanks to a relaxed supply chain, the last few quarters have been slower. Xbox hardware sales were down 13% in second quarter and down 30% in third quarter, though. None of this would be entirely shocking for a console a solid 3 years in its life cycle, except that its direct competitor PlayStation has recently enjoyed some of its best hardware sales quarter yet. In fourth quarter, ending in March of 2023, PlayStation reported hardware sales 3 times stronger year over year and announced it sold nearly as many units in the previously financial years as it has in the one prior, bringing its total sales to 38.4 million units. Granted, this was a quarter ago, so it's possible Sony's report similarly slower sales in its own earnings on August 9th, but the tone difference between the two companies remain stark nevertheless. More details on recent years for Xbox are expected once Microsoft published the remaining of its earnings fillings and all. So it does seem to indicate for Microsoft it's kind of a mixed bag to a certain degree compared to how it is with Sony, or at least that's how I'm seeing it, to be exact, though. Obviously the hardware is certainly seeing a dip, though, but basically Game Pass and everything like that seems to be doing very well for them. So it's, to me, I kind of see this mostly a mixed bag. And this year for Microsoft definitely has been mixed, though. While there have been some titles that have gotten good response, like Hi-Fi Rush and basically, I think, the Age of Empire 2 Definitive Edition, titles like Redfall, which was supposed to be their big release, unfortunately launched in a very pitiful state, which forced Phil Spencer to apologize to the whole situation, and not to mention the whole story from Jason Schreier that seemed to indicate that there were more problems with this game than originally, and Microsoft's complete hands-off approach may have not been the smartest move on their part to a certain extent, though. So we'll have to see how the holidays plays out for them, though. We'll see if Starfield helps in any shape, in any form, and it'll be very interesting to see once this Activision Blizzard deal closes, which I believe most likely it will, see what kind of impact this will have on the Xbox brand going forward. But clearly nowhere near the level where PlayStation and PS5 is right now, which, despite having some issues finding the system early in its life cycle, it seems that people are having an easier time finding it more and more. So clearly there's a big difference between how PlayStation is handling things and how Microsoft is handling things, though. Again, it will be very interesting to see how the holidays or how the fall is going to play out, though. I'm very curious to see how Starfield does, whether or not this drives any sales on Xbox hardware, to whether or not this gets more people to sign up for Game Pass or not. And we'll just have to see how this plays out. We'll see what happens next year once supposedly the Activision Blizzard deal closed, to see if the situation is a bit different for Microsoft back then than compared to today, though. But for now, obviously, although the Game Pass part or the is doing very well for them. The hardware part seems to be struggling. This certainly is an issue that they need to do a better job addressing, while basically Sony seems to be doing very well at this time. So overall, it sounds like mixed bag on Microsoft side with both the hardware and the revenue and all. Although again, like I said, Game Passes seem to be doing fine. Hardware seems to be the issue. Where over on Sony's side, it seems the hardware is doing very well for them, though. And it'll be very interesting if the rumors about this PS5 Pro that might appear next year, whether or not people are willing to buy that PS5 Pro or not. So time will ultimately tell, though. And I'm also very curious to see what Nintendo has to say when hopefully they'll release their fiscal report, to be exact, to where things stand for them, though, especially going into next year when there are rumors about, the Switch successor or Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call it, to be exact. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this rumor about a PS5 Pro? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think we'll possibly see it in November 2024? Do you think a PS5 Pro is absolutely necessary in any way? What are your reports of Insomniac Games working on a third game? Do you think this third game could be a multiplayer title? Do you think it could be a new IP? Do you think it's possible they could revive? It could be something reviving an old IP for them, like whether it's Resistance or even, like Sunset Overdrive or anything like that. What are your thoughts about the report about the possibility of Immortals Fenyx Rising, the sequel, actually being canceled? Are you disappointed if this report is true in any way? Would you have liked to see a sequel actually happen? Did you enjoy the first Immortals Rising and the DLC in any way? And what are your thoughts about the sales report for both the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X, though? Do you think Microsoft still has its work cut out, to be exact? Do you think the release of Starfield will have a more positive impact? Do you think, them concluding, buying Activision Blizzard will increase hardware sales for Xbox or increase the revenue for it, to be exact? And are you pleased with where Sony is right now with the PS5 and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I will appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. The links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then, and hopefully you guys stay cool out there considering the warm weather we're facing right now. Bye!